Hello, Simmon here, and welcome to the Intermediate Invitational Tournament match between nqeron and TravWest, or Asceric. nqeron is the puzzle master. He is the one who places all of those weekday puzzles on the subreddit and provides those for me to place on my Instagram, so that's pretty fun. And TravWest is the first runner-up in the beginner tournament of Q1 2021. And he qualified for this intermediate tournament by doing that. So this should be a pretty solid match between these two players. Here is the beginning of game one. All right, so we see the first move coming out here with adjacent corners. Going for that traditional mirrored opening that we see so often. And we do see the first deviation, black placing a flat out here. We have seen that quite a bit more lately, as opposed to the capstone coming off across. White quickly changing directions to keep that momentum. We might see a white capstone drop here, and we do. It is a pretty solid position for a capstone, as it cannot be isolated, and it is part of a defensive and offensive line at the same time, which is something you want. This capstone follows quite a few of the guidelines in the capstones video that you will find on Tech University. Black taking their time, trying to figure out how to respond to this really well-placed white capstone. nqeron in white, Asceric or TravWest in black. nqeron is the source of the didactic blog and all of those puzzles that you see on the subreddit page and on my Instagram. Black making a capture, white just filling right in. I'm not quite sure about that capture. It seemed like he might have been trying to isolate this capstone a little bit, maybe taking a few notes from Inaria there, but wasn't really in a position to do that because, again, the placement of the capstone did keep it from being isolated. Now we see black playing around this, keeping this area of white free, so that white can't make that connection off to the side for that horizontal threat. White's going to have to focus their attention on something vertical. White can just start building up here at D6 or down here at E3. Either one would start building towards that vertical threat. Could even start building here at C6, which would look like building around here as well. Coming over with the self-capture with that capstone. Really strong position here with this capstone. It's in one of that center squares. It is a hard capstone. It's right next to a stack. It's very strong positioning right now. If black does not capture with this flat in up or down, then I think we might see this capstone stack move all the way over here with the whole thing with it. And that would be a very, very strong position, very strong stack with a lot of mobility and crushing power because it is a hard capstone. Black trying to figure out how to respond here. Black still hasn't dropped their capstone. He is going to be building down below here at C2, maybe trying to build for this vertical threat by an eventual capture over onto D3. White building across. Looks like they might be going for that horizontal threat after all, or just trying to cut off more of what black's doing with their vertical threat. Yeah, it does look like black is going for that vertical. He's got to know that it's going to get cut off at some point. White now building below. Black can make the first attack threat of the game by placing up here at b6. And white would be forced to respond with a capture. And I would really like the capture of this whole stack moving over onto c4. That would be pretty strong in response to a b6 placement. It would give this really strong capstone. You would probably see a black capstone drop here on d4 after that. Maybe. I don't think it would be very strong. It doesn't really have too much going for it in that direction. Maybe to try to make this vertical threat here. But would definitely be behind because white would have had a much stronger position for a road threat vertically and much quicker. Would definitely have the momentum for white after that capture move. So black's probably trying to think of something to do besides placing here at b6 that would also sort of keep that momentum. I don't think we'll see black make this capture just yet. That would not be a very good move. White is in a much stronger position, despite having, it looks like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whites showing, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blacks showing. But white is in a much stronger position on this board because all of black's flats and all of black's threats are easily stopped and can be converted into white's threats. So I think that's a big point of why it's much better position for white. Sorry. And this capstone stack, being a hard capstone, is just really strong, and it's a really, really great position. That one's going to be tough to mess with. I think maybe moving c4 stack down to c3 would be a pretty strong move, I'd say. And that looks like that's what he's doing. Coming down with this, maybe wanting to drop a capstone here if white doesn't fill in. I would imagine that white would want to fill in here at c4. That would keep a capstone from dropping in c4, which is the ideal position for black's capstone right now. So white's probably going to want to fill in here. I don't think white's going to want to move this capstone at all unless there's already something here onto c4. And so if there's a white c4, he can move that on, make an even stronger hard capstone, and that would be really strong because it would also threaten this stack. Not to mention, make some moves for a threat. White has a number of moves here that can get it really close to Tinuë. With pretty much nothing that black can do about it, and I really like that placement at c4. It's hard to say what black can do from this position. This stack is under threat right now. Black's going to have to do something. White might want to play down here at b1 on the next turn if they don't bring this stack over. Preemptively placing at b1 would be strong. Much stronger than playing up here at c6 or d6. I like it a lot better. Black building out across. This is going for that vertical threat. White building in between it. And this also encourages a horizontal direction for white, in addition to cutting off black's vertical threat. Black may decide to place here at f4 to continue building for this, or maybe even at f3. f3 would also work because it would work towards this horizontal threat as well. I like f3 here. Probably the most for black. Keeps the momentum. White's forced to place here. Black then places here. Keeps the momentum again. Another attack threat in that direction. So I feel like that would be the move to make here. We can also take a look at the time. nqeron, just under 15 minutes. Asceric or TravWest down to 10.5. Black did make that f3 placement. This is not attack threat in the vertical direction yet. feel like this is an opportunity for white to move this capstone stack over here onto c4, because in the next move, won't really have that opportunity to do that anymore. Black might want to drop a capstone here at d4 after that. Black still has not dropped a capstone. White instead going to be playing over here at f4. Black dropping here at b1 makes a lot of sense. That is a attack threat now from black. White needs to respond to that, likely with a placement at a1. No, instead white gives up their hard capstone to drop the capstone down, but this does interrupt that road and threaten this big stack here. Getting this big stack would be huge for white. So black's going to want to do something to keep that from happening. Probably by capturing up onto c4. It would get recaptured, but another recapture and then dropping a capstone for black would probably be solid. Would be able to keep that stack from completely running away from him. And a capstone is always nice to have. On the board, that is. Especially when it's surrounded by opposing pieces. So yeah, I would say c3 going up here onto c4 would be the move to make, but maybe I'm not seeing something. Because this capstone really wants to capture that. Moving it over wouldn't do anything. Moving it down would just not be a solid move. Yeah, moving it up is really the only thing that happens. Sure, it loses the capture war, but again, black would have the opportunity to drop a capstone there. Black instead putting a capstone there, that... do not think that was the move here. I think that white brings this over. And then if black doesn't do anything up here, white can place at c6. Yeah, place at c6, and that's a Tinuë. So if white comes over with this capstone stack, brings it up here onto c3, that can be the opening salvo, basically, of this Tinuë pattern. So bringing it over, and then, depending on what black does afterwards, black can't make a threat at that point. So placing at c6 would be a Tinuë after that, depending on what they did. Instead, white going to be placing up here at b6, which creates attack threat, but not a... yeah, I still think this move would have been much better, much stronger in the long run. Because this move of moving c3 up to c4 is still viable now. Oh, well, actually, it's not viable now because that would be a loss. Black's got to do something up here. This capstone placement off here to the side didn't really make any sense to me. It's on the edge. It can be easily isolated. It isn't really offensive or defensive at this point, it doesn't look like. This is where I think a b3 plus move would be really strong. Yeah, b3 plus would be pretty strong here. Because what that would do is it would create this horizontal attack threat that b5 minus would not be able to stop because placing there would work. This wall coming down wouldn't be able to stop it. It would have to be a placement there. Instead, going to keep placing these stones. So white's really just working on placing here. I still feel like this capture or this capture up here, those would have been really strong moves earlier. I don't know, we'll have to analyze that game a little bit later. And we do see the time difference here. There's 6 minutes in between these two players, 13 minutes on the clock versus 7.5. Black really in trouble here. Dropping this wall down would stop it. Okay. That also stops that threat. I think this stack moving over here onto c3 is again the move to make, moving this capstone over. White instead filling in down at e3. Black's in a really tough position still. Probably wants to move this capstone over, but he knows that if he does move that capstone over, White's going to move the capstone onto c3 in response. Yeah, like this moving over and that moving over for White. Black has got to do something. This capstone is in a really tough spot. It's not doing much for him. I feel like it's got to move over and get into this game. Yeah, this is a tough one. Black's in a bit of a bind here. Sure, we're only 17 moves in, but very difficult position for him. Black does make this capture over onto c5 from b5. Okay, I can see why that was the chosen move there. Again, this capstone wants to move over. It's got to move over at some point. White instead filling in here at b5. I feel like we might see on the next move b3 coming up onto b4. That would create this tack threat here. It would almost force c3 to go up, though. And because this citadel is over here in the corner, this wall can't really interrupt it at all. The only thing it can do is capture down onto c5 if c5 gets recaptured, maybe with a white. I mean, it can move over onto itself, but I'm not sure how strong of a move that would be. Like, at this point, actually, that might not be a bad choice because there is no tack threat that Black has to worry about. So moving onto its own spot and then being able to throw over here would interrupt a lot of what White's doing. And so while this sounds like a bit of an unintuitive move, this might be the one to make. Come down, be able to do that. Instead, black building over here off to the side. Probably trying to make for this vertical threat on this side, interrupting what white's doing over here. Yeah, capturing up sounds good here. B3 plus. Again, nqeron at 11.5 minutes, Asceric down to 4.5. White instead making that E2 plus capture. You gotta feel like E5 is gonna come down and capture this stack to keep it from doing anything. This is attack threat for white. So white coming up with B3 plus onto B4 would be a road. Or D5 coming over to the left onto C5 would also be a road, or C4 coming up to C5. And so the sort of the obvious move is E5 minus onto this stack to recapture that and force a capture ore over that stack, which would interrupt white's road here, because if this comes down and this comes over, then drop a wall. If this comes over, drop a wall and force that capstone to smash. Black instead coming across. Why? Why are you doing that? Come over here, I think now. Now D3 wants to come over onto C3. That makes another attack threat going north. Black will capture over, white will capture over there. Get that stack. Yeah, this has got to be the sequence now. Now C4 comes to the right onto D4. Or does E5 come down? Placing here at B4 is a good move. The reason why placing at B4 is a good move is because it creates this vertical threat and a horizontal threat at the same time. Black wants to take this across, but that would lead to a loss with the spread. No, it wouldn't actually, would it? Yes, yes it would. Okay, so that is a win for white. White takes the road here. That was a Tinuë, if I'm not mistaken. And here we are with game 2 of Asceric versus nqeron, or TravWest versus nqeron. Asceric in white, nqeron in black. nqeron took game 1 with a Tinuë and a very, very strong performance. Let's see how he does as black. Now we do see the standard mirrored opening with the adjacent corners. We see this very often right now in 6x6. And that common move of dropping that capstone here, cutting off white's progress. This is where white would typically place flat here at B3. Looks like they're doing that. Change in directions, going for that vertical threat now that they know that this horizontal one is cut off. Honestly, I prefer it when people play like this, but you know, you do what you can. Black deciding to build out across here, which is interesting. I like this play too because it goes towards the momentum of changing directions for black, going for that vertical threat instead of the horizontal one that they started out with as well, just like white is doing, because they can do that by capturing down with this C5 stack, or C5 capstone rather. Well, one stone is a stack, so that works. White taking his time, trying to figure out how to respond to this. Again, nqeron is the source of all those puzzles that you see, and he has a lot of practice analyzing games and trying to find these Tinuës after they happened. But he doesn't play in too many tournaments that I'm aware of. So maybe we'll see some solid play from him with all this Tinuë practice that he's been doing. White does drop a capstone here in the spot that can't be isolated, so that's pretty nice. Black deciding to build around here anyway very quickly. nqeron playing very quick in this second game as well as the first game. White building here, trying to make that horizontal threat still work, even with that capstone there blocking. Black taking a blocking move here by placing a flat out in front. This works in a couple ways. White deciding to isolate Black's capstone here. Strong play there from White. Black moving that capstone down to follow. Typically not the kind of move you want to make by just moving that capstone. That's like a flat negative move since it doesn't give you any flats. But it does keep this capstone in the game where it otherwise might be isolated. So I would say that's one of the few times when it is a good idea to move that capstone by itself. Now, even capturing this stack would be probably the best move here. And he goes for it. This gives him some positive flat count differential moves. It gives him some directions in the vertical direction for a tag threat. It's able to stop this horizontal tag threat of white. I think placing along here and going for that road, now that this capstone is placed off to the side of Black's capstone, can't really interrupt this road that Black has going because it can't come across and capture onto where the capstone already is. So this is where you'll see White or Black probably play up here at C5. This helps protect this spot here at C4. White deciding to play up above here. Probably wanted to come down and capture at some point. This is where you'll probably see D5 placed. Not a B5 most likely, but a D5 does make a lot of sense here. Yeah, so we do see D5 placed. I don't think we'll see C6 down yet, but we could. That would be attack threat for White. Would be easily stopped by Black. Black probably wants to keep White's capstone on this line so that Black's capstone can keep blocking it and maintain this road threat. White building out across here. Black can make attack threat now by placing here at D6. There is no attack threat of White just yet. But White's building a pretty strong position. Black still has a pretty good spot though. I would not count them out just yet. I do feel like D6 is a pretty strong move here. While it can be easily stopped by White, I don't feel like there's anything unstoppable from White. So Black will be able to maintain their lead, I believe, or at least break even here. I imagine White capturing maybe here onto C5. If they do, that is attack threat for White. Black can take E4 over to the left, make that additional attack threat and break up White's attack threat a little bit. But it would give this capstone an opportunity to come up and capture. So they do instead make the C6 minus move. This is also attack threat for White, making this road here. Being able to capture down again with C5 down to C4. I do think that either capturing over onto c5 or capturing over here onto d4 from e4 would be the move to make. e4 to d4, while it does renew the attack threat and cut off white's threat, it does give this capstone a little bit of running room to be able to get this stack and release that prisoner. So I feel like maybe capturing over onto c5 would be the move to make here. Instead, capturing down with d5 onto d4, which is an interesting play. I'm not sure what the motive is behind it. Like, it builds towards this vertical and horizontal threat, but it just invites that capstone to come up there. Black takes it with the whole stack, or white takes it with the whole stack. There is no current attack threat by white, but white's in a pretty good position. I would say white is now in the lead pretty strongly at this point. Let's see. What should black be doing here? That's a tough call. Maybe dropping a wall here on d5 might be good to be able to recapture this stack, and then when white places a flat here, they can take this capstone, move it over, and there's no way for white to make that threat. I feel like that's the way to do it, because white is in a pretty strong position here to the point where they're very close to a Tinuë. Black instead dropping a wall here, cutting white off at the source. This is where you might see white play here at b6. Or might capture down with this capstone. Or drop here at d3. Any of those work pretty well for white at this point. Black trying to buy themselves a little bit of breathing room with this wall dropped. d3 place, that creates that new tag threat. Black brings that wall right up here onto that threat, interrupting that road. This is where you might see b6 be played. And sure enough, there it is. Black moving that wall along with the threat. Placement fill in at b4, another tag threat moving down or moving over. This is where you might see black decide to throw something. Nope, that is a win for white. Black missed that threat of moving that capstone down, and that is another missed road here. And that is white taking the win. That is Asceric or TravWest taking the win in game 2. So they split this match, each person taking 1 win. That second game was quite quick here. So well played to both players. Congratulations to both players also. This is, I believe, the first tournament match of their group, of Group 1. Group 2 has played almost all of their games, and Group 1 hasn't played a single one. So this is the first match of Group 1. And yeah, so that is it for this match. TravWest and nqeron split their games, split their wins, and yeah, that is all she wrote. So thanks for watching, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out the description at the bottom of this video to see all the TAC resources that we have available to us, including the playtac.com website where you can play folks online, Also, the rules for the game so you can learn it. Check out the videos on my channel for how to play TAC. Check out the subreddit. Especially check out the TAC Discord server, which is the community hub. It's where everybody goes to talk about TAC, find players to play with, where we organize all these tournaments and everything. It's all on that TAC Discord. That is the place to be. If you're unfamiliar with Discord, Discord is a audio and text chatting web application and mobile application, and it's super easy to use, doesn't cost a thing, and you don't even have to download anything if you don't want to. Thanks for checking it out, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.